I've already sent 2 documents, and now I want this resolved. That line from Lewis Hamilton, delivered away from the cameras and shared directly with Ferrari's leadership, wasn't just a technical request, it was an ultimatum. While everyone expected rest and quiet during the summer break, Hamilton did the opposite. He locked himself inside the factory, called meetings with Elkan, Vigna, Vasseur, and Loic. It wasn't just about the 2025 car, it was about 2026, about Ferrari's DNA, and about who's really in charge. But what's inside those documents? Why did Nico Rosberg, a historic rival and now Sky pundit, say bluntly, "If I were Ferrari, I'd listen to every line Lewis wrote"? According to internal sources, Hamilton's reports weren't just technical notes. They exposed structural flaws in the car's development, criticized the conservative philosophy of the suspension department, and directly questioned the resistance to change he's faced since the Chinese Grand Prix. But not everyone welcomed those documents, and that's opened a new front in the silent war dividing Ferrari. When Hamilton signed with Ferrari, many said it was a farewell move, a golden retirement. But the documents submitted to Ferrari's top brass prove otherwise. Lewis wasn't hired just to drive, he came to reshape. In one of the boldest excerpts from the second report, Hamilton writes, "You brought me here for 7 titles, but you want me to drive like I've never won." The criticism isn't aimed at the trackside crew, but at the system resisting him. In particular, what he calls a fear-driven mindset, the reluctance to take risks even when the data clearly points the way. Inside Ferrari, this caused fractures. Vasseur, under pressure from Leclerc and his technical allies, tries to hold the balance. Meanwhile, Loic, one of the few openly backing Hamilton, has been called too much Mercedes by members of the technical committee. The truth? Hamilton no longer acts like an employee. He's acting like someone trying to rebuild a culture. The real reason he's at Ferrari was never just to win races. It's to prove that without deep change, not even a 7-time champion can win in red. What Hamilton handed to Ferrari wasn't just a diagnosis, it was a challenge. 2 documents, packed with data, simulations, and side-by-side comparisons with his Mercedes era, were sent directly to upper management. One section was even highlighted. Cultural change is harder than a front-wing swap. Inside the team, the reaction was immediate. Some engineers were impressed by the detail, others unsettled by the blunt tone. And word is that when Leclerc found out Hamilton was proposing changes to the 2025 front suspension philosophy, he responded coldly, "Ferrari doesn't need re-education." But Lewis didn't back down. In a meeting with Loic, he even opened telemetry traces from his Mercedes years to illustrate how the SF25's response disrupts his braking rhythm. He said, "I'm not asking for preferences, I'm asking for logic." Adami, his race engineer, has tried to mediate. Off the record, he admitted there is cultural resistance within the team, but added, Hamilton is right to push. The issue is no longer technical, it's political. Who blinks first? The driver demanding change, or the team afraid of changing too much? But while Hamilton was trying to open new paths, resistance inside the team began to grow, and it came from the most unexpected place, Leclerc's camp. Charles, who had dominated internally with 5 podiums compared to none for Hamilton, started to feel uncomfortable with the influence Lewis was gaining behind closed doors. His technical circle began to question during briefings the amount of focus being placed on the Brits' demands. "Are we changing Ferrari for one driver or to win races?" said one engineer close to Leclerc. The answer came in silence. At Spa, even starting outside the top 10, Hamilton managed to match Leclerc's pace in the second stint, using a setup he had built himself, outside a Ferrari standard package. After the race, during the internal debrief, Hamilton was blunt. "The car's still wrong, but now I know why." Adami listened quietly, and Leclerc, according to witnesses, left the room before the meeting ended. A rare move, interpreted as a sign of discomfort with the shifting dynamics. The technical clash between driving styles has now escalated into a power struggle. And once again, Ferrari finds itself at the center of a division that's threatening to explode. Behind closed doors, the question is no longer about setups, it's about allegiance. Hamilton's reports aren't just technical critiques, they're political manifestos. His proposals call for radical adjustments, streamlining the simulation team, rewriting the communication protocol between driver and engineer, and even removing the veto power of certain legacy figures within the technical department. And the most controversial? Hamilton wants Ferrari to stop designing the car around driver neutrality, a philosophy that, in theory, serves both drivers equally, but in practice creates compromises that serve no one fully. A car designed for everyone is a car designed for no one, Hamilton reportedly told the team. This demand triggered alarm bells because, at Ferrari, equality between drivers is more than policy, it's part of the brand's self-image. Yet data doesn't lie, and Hamilton's telemetry, especially in high-speed corners and braking zones, continues to show inconsistencies that Leclerc's style doesn't expose, but that cost Lewis tenths per lap. The cracks are no longer hidden, and as Monza approaches, insiders say the team is being pushed toward a decision: evolve with Hamilton's vision or risk losing the one driver who dares to question the system. The weight of that decision is already shaping Ferrari's behavior. In the last 2 weeks, changes have quietly taken place. Engineers once reluctant to align with Hamilton's proposals are now joining his simulation sessions. New test parameters, some based on his Mercedes-era preferences, have been approved for future era runs. And Adami? He's stopped filtering Hamilton's feedback. One source described him as fully on board now. But not everyone is aligned. A senior figure within Ferrari chassis department reportedly pushed back on Hamilton's suspension overhaul suggestions, claiming the team must protect its DNA. The response from Hamilton's inner circle? Performance is the new DNA. This quiet shift is gaining momentum. In a recent closed-door strategy meeting, Hamilton was given access to the full development calendar for the 2026 car, something previously shared only with senior technical leads. For some, that's proof of trust. For others, it's a red flag. Because if Lewis is already influencing the next car's DNA, then Ferrari's future is being written now, not by committee, but by conviction. And the man holding the pen wears red but thinks like a disruptor. From the outside, it still looks like business as usual. The team smiles on the grid, the social media posts show unity, and the press releases talk about collaboration. But behind the curtain, insiders say Ferrari is on edge. Because Monza is no longer just a race, it's a referendum. Will the team double down on tradition, preserving its internal hierarchy, and risk alienating its most experienced champion? Or will they break the mold and embrace Hamilton's vision, even if it means sidelining some of the old guard? One senior engineer described the atmosphere as measured chaos. Leclerc has reportedly grown colder in meetings, sticking strictly to technical topics. Meanwhile, Hamilton has expanded his influence beyond the garage, speaking directly with Elkan on development timelines and pushing for earlier implementation of driver-led decision cycles. This isn't a feud, it's a philosophical collision. Ferrari represents the Ferrari that has always been, loyal, passionate, and unpredictable. Hamilton is building the Ferrari that could be, clinical, data-driven, and relentlessly forward-looking. And in the middle stands Fred Vasseur, trying to prevent a civil war that may already be underway. So what happens next? At Monza, every radio message, every setup choice, every pit call will be dissected, not just for strategy, but for signs of alignment. If Hamilton gets the updates he's pushed for, the message will be clear. Ferrari is leaning into change. But if those upgrades stall, or if Leclerc is favored on critical decisions, the signal will be just as loud. The old Ferrari still holds the wheel. Hamilton didn't come to Maranello to blend in. He came to expose, rebuild, and, if necessary, disrupt. The documents were just the beginning. They forced a conversation the team had avoided for years. Are we building for image or for victory? And as Rosberg said, you have to listen to a 7-time champion, because ignoring him doesn't just risk races, it risks relevance. Monza isn't just the temple of speed. This year, it's the arena of truth. Ferrari must choose tradition or transformation, and the world will be watching.